So you may be wondering where this weekend's video was. Well, the video What Happened to Star Wars Battlefront, an Autopsy and Review was finished, uploaded, and shortly after blocked in all countries via a copyright takedown from Lucasfilm. I'm still trying to figure out exact details on what occurred. The claim I received seemed to target information pertaining to the original Battlefront 3 project, and implied information related to Battlefront 3 development was stolen, I suppose, and I had no right to use said information for review and critique with regard to Battlefront 2015. For those of you who may be lacking context to understand the situation, let me fill you in. I have a series called What Happened to Game, an Autopsy and Review, where we visit a game after launch, normally with games doing not so well, to see what happened. For example, the first episode of the series was What Happened to Titanfall, an Autopsy and Review. The purpose was to explore what happened and why. Titanfall dropped off the map a few weeks after launch, so I made an investigation video to do an Autopsy and Review. However, the series is for games that are doing fairly poorly. Battlefront 2015's population had dropped significantly below Battlefield 4's, for example, so it could be argued the videos are provocative by not being an inherently favorable review. It's possible this was an automated takedown, however, that's not a good thing, because for smaller channels like mine, YouTube doesn't give priority on claim hearing to channels below a few 100,000 subscribers in size, so a claim that I have rights to review and critique under fair use will sit in limbo for potentially years. In fact, some of my videos have sat in limbo for several years and continue to this day. And I talk, in fact, about this a bit more in my Patreon launch video, where I showcase claimed videos sitting under investigation by my counterclaim to YouTube and having that investigation pending for a period exceeding 12 months or even 24 months. If it was an automatic takedown, that's not good, because it means videos with the word review in the title that are unmonetized and running ad-free are now being claimed as stolen and collecting revenue off someone else's work, and therefore being copyright infringement under the pretense the review doesn't qualify for protection under review and critique. The video was Patreon funded. It was an unmonetized video provided completely free of advertisement. That's my thing. That's what I've done with new videos on this channel after launching my Patreon page a few months ago. I provide videos free of interruption and advertisement in exchange for $1 donation on Patreon. So if this was a deliberate act of censorship given the specific content of the video that was targeted, or an automatic takedown, both of those are pretty bad. Sometimes accidental takedowns happen, but when I did videos for Fallout New Vegas, there was a copyright claim filed against me, and since YouTube does not give my channel enough priority to say, no, it's mine, put it back up, and that statement will take literal years to be heard, I had to email the company and talk to one of their representatives to get the claim revoked. I was successful in that case. However, this would mean in order to get my autopsy and review of Battlefront back, I'd need to email Lucasfilm and persuade them to lift the block on a video critical of the game and discussing content they seemed interested in blocking. Oh, that's totally not extremely ominous, allowing a company to select which reviews it wants to be public and which get taken down. That doesn't sound like an abusable power at all. Sarcasm. Dark days ahead. I'm now going to discuss information in the video since I'm not sure if I can recover it. I'm sorry I can't provide much more than the very limited imagery shown. Even showing a couple frames from the video is a bit of a risk, so I shouldn't push my luck on that point. I will attempt to provide relevant links in the description and cite as many sources as I can salvage and showcase via description box proxy. Please do excuse any oversights in this regard, as I'm having to do this rather hastily and under severe sleep deprivation. I'm sorry this video is not going to look impressive. I'm working on getting my original back, but The What Happened to Star Wars Battlefront, an Autopsy and Review focused on providing information many people seem to be unaware of, from reading glowing reviews that didn't compare Battlefront 2015 to the previous Battlefront 2, despite having some declining bits of technology and direct comparisons, such as a more limited hero roster, lack of space battles, no Clone Wars, etc. We went back to the release of Battlefront 2, showcasing space battle footage as well as showcasing the Battlefield series competing title released in 2006 by name of Battlefield 2142, and the inclusion of Titan mode, a mode involving giant flying aircraft carriers complete with an aircraft launch bay and drop pod assault bay, where the objective was to batter the shield down and board it, fight your way to the ship's reactor core and detonate it, and I showed footage for that. I then elaborated on the abandoned original Battlefront 3, discussing information regarding the, at the time, upcoming Star Wars Battlefront third game in the series, which focused on expanding these large battles into battles which incorporated planetary assault, surface-to-orbit and vice-versa movement in battles involving multiple capital ships, and successes they seem to have had in development, calling into question the wisdom in terminating the project. Information relating to the development of the original Battlefront 3 seems to be the information I was supposedly infringing upon by disclosing. I showed the comments section of a leaked gameplay video, which had almost unanimous contempt for the 2015 Battlefront, and I disclosed the existence of a mod project that was attempting to recreate the original Battlefront 3. The mod is called Galaxy in Turmoil, and a link to a trailer is in the description, though personally I'd be concerned about them getting hit by a cease and desist order. With rebranding Battlefront 2015 to Star Wars Battlefront instead of Battlefront 3, despite it being the next game in the series, seemed to cause a bit of disinformation, with some people being unaware the development changed and subsequently not knowing to compare it to the development Battlefront 3 or previous Battlefront 2, sometimes reviewing it as a new IP with no basis to compare it back to and with nothing to measure it against, little scope of if it was a good investment or not. Without experiencing the Battlefront 2 Space Battles or 2142 Titan mode, people didn't have the context to compare their financial investment of Battlefront 2015 to know if they got their money's worth, and since by this point Battlefront 2015 and its primary competition, Battlefield 4, were now under the domain of the same publisher, the game had little reason to financially compete with itself. Despite statements by EA, the one thing it was criticized for was lack of single-player. Some critics did remember and factor in the previous Battlefront game, and others could still compare it to Battlefield or PlanetSide. Most criticisms seem to relate to value proposition rather than a single missing feature, arguing that with no single player, no Clone Wars, no space battles, no Star Destroyers to deploy from, there wasn't much Star Wars being sold in a Star Wars experience. When all the DLC is out and someone checks in on the game in 5 to 8 months, some of these issues may be fixed, but that comes with its own issues, as in the time frame, Battlefront 2015 will not only be competing with Battlefield 4 and PlanetSide 2, but also compete with Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, the next Call of Duty game, etc. There's also the issue that someone may decide to download Battlefront 2 for a couple dollars during a Steam sale, download a free Game Ranger client to access the Battlefront 2 multiplayer, where I obtained the footage I used during the video, and a link to Game Ranger is also in the description. Thank you for watching, or rather listening. Sorry about the video quality. I'm hastily making this after trying to address the issue for several hours, so I'm exhausted at this point. Insert pandering here, and I'll see you later. Dark days ahead for YouTube if companies are getting to filter which reviews they want. Ugh.